With attachments, you can recognize it. With greed, you can recognize it. With anger, it's visible to everybody. But the subtlety of ego is such that I don't recognize it. This is why the symbol is the tail at the back. The monkey doesn't know that my tail is so long. Everybody else can see the tail, but the monkey doesn't know that. And so when ego comes or Maya comes in the form of ego and I, it's not easy to recognize it. But if you look back over your own experiences and ask the question, when is it that I felt pain? I don't mean physical pain, I mean the soul taking sorrow. If I can identify when are the times that I had the most pain, you'll be able to see that it was when your ego was hurt. And that's the one single method to recognize Maya in the form of ego, or actually any form of Maya, but especially it's an indication of ego. And so when I've been checking myself and seeing what are my weak points, then with Baba's help, putting it in front of Baba, taking Baba's love and power, and the methods that Baba gives me, not just soul consciousness, that's basic, but also Baba talks about humility. Baba talks about giving respect to others. Baba talks about not taking sorrow, different things that Baba has mentioned. So if I know that I'm prone to this, I have that sensitivity, then can I practice the things that Baba's talking about in the Muralis? You know, when Daddy used to say, take 3 points from the Murali, it wasn't just a theoretical thing. It was, what are the methods that Baba has given me today to help me deal with what I'm struggling with? 3 points. Can I use those points through the day to help me move forward to the stage that I would like to have?
In conjunction with that, Jenny, Ben, you mentioned a lot about these different forms of ego. Why does Baba never say in the final paper that totally conquer ego and become embodiment of remembrance? Why he mentioned conqueror of attachment become embodiment of remembrance? Why doesn't he replace the attachment with ego? What do you think? Is there any specific reason for that?
I think because ego and attachment came almost together at Copper Age. When we first fell from our divinity, ego, attachment, I, mine came together. And so when Baba's saying attachment, it means everything, but also this. And so I think it encompasses that. And so it's a bigger picture, the my and mine, than just the I.
Okay, the next question, Jenny Ben, is very common nowadays with the social media. So the question was asked was, have you ever encountered insults, defamation, whether through the Brahmins or through the Lokik people, through the social media? If you have encountered any of these insults, defamation, how will you deal with this insult, defamation, so they won't linger onto the soul for a long period of time?
Has anyone, and I don't want you to go on to the surfer and then look this up, because it'll then send your hits or send the thing shooting up. But I'm sure that some of you would have seen bk.info. Who has seen it at some point ever? Okay, so that has defamation of most Brahmins, especially the ones that were around from the early days, because the person who started that website was with Baba in the 70s. And so early days, there's defamation of Baba, there's defamation of daddies and myself and everyone under the sun, really. Anybody who was playing a role, it's all there. Since then, I haven't come across anything specifically, but I know that that's still watched by huge numbers in India. The rest of the world now seems to have got bored with it. and keep it that way. Otherwise, it'll jump onto the front page when you type in Brahma Kumaris. That's what will come up. But let it stay on the third page where it is. But in India, it's still very prominent. But anyway, so when that was happening, and my concern at that time was not just myself, but it was the whole yajna being attacked. We said to Baba, what should we do about this? Because the IT people said that, everything is wide open. You can do what you want on the web. So they weren't giving us any answers. And then asking Baba, and it was the RCs were in front of Baba, myself and Moini Ben and Dr. Nirmala, Slesh Didi, and so on. And Baba paused and he was looking at us, but it was like he was looking at something beyond us. And he said, you can't stop these people. What you can do is put out good content. And the more good, positive content you put out, the more people will be drawn to that and they'll ignore the other. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what happened. Then people across the world started putting in good content. And that's how it's now moved to the third page rather than the first page. So I didn't take it personally because I knew that individual very well. He was a daily student in London. And then I'd read an article that he had spoken to a magazine person and he sent it to us. We wouldn't have known about it otherwise. It's a little known magazine. I don't even remember the name. But in this interview, he stated how he hated his mother and that made him hate all women except his grandmother. He loved his grandmother. But he found himself in this organization where the ideas were brilliant, but it happened to be women who were the teachers. And so he stated how finally he had to leave the organization because he couldn't stomach it anymore. So I knew all that background. And so I wasn't affected by it at all because I just didn't take it personally. It was in that context. That, here's a person who's come with issues that are older than before he came to Baba. So it wasn't difficult to deal with that. What's been more difficult is where people have told me face to face, you are this, you are this, you are this, you are this. And if I look into myself and say, yes, I can see why they're saying it, then I appreciate it and I work on it. But if I look into myself, like very early on, it would have been 1975, 76, around that time, maybe a bit later. But the first time Daddy went back to India, so Daddy had come in 74, so she went back 78, so it would have been then. She was there for 4 years. She didn't go out of the UK at all. She was there and it was brilliant, because it really created a very, very strong foundation. So we have Brahmins, like we had a UK teachers gathering recently, and we had so many Brahmins teachers who are over 40 years in Gyan. Naturally, the first sent outside India, Dadi there to sustain them, 4 years sustenance non-stop. So really strong, powerful souls. So she'd just gone to India, and I felt a bit alone because Sudesh Ben had also gone at the same time. And how old was I? I would have been about 28. Yeah, I would have been 28. But no experience of the world out there, just Baba's world. And this person who was in a black body asked to see me. He's a student, daily student. I said, fine. And he just sits and he attacks me and tells me I'm racist. I haven't given him any opportunities and that whole story. And I managed to keep my dignity and not cry, but I was quite shocked. And I said to him, okay, you tell me what it is you would like to be involved in. And he said, okay, I'll think about it. And he was already involved in many things because he was a brilliant musician. His voice was very special, but more than that, he was a composer. And somebody who was working with him as part of that band, they said that he would come out with like tunes that were already there in his head, and he just had to download them. And so, really brilliant. And so he was involved in a big way, but that was his attack. And I didn't want to call Dadi in India and trouble her. When she came back a few months later, and meanwhile, I tried to give him as much opportunity as I could, but it didn't really work out. I said to Dadi, this is what had happened. And she said, well, I can see that you were hurt by it. But in fact, you have to remember that it was the position he was attacking, not you. Anybody else who was in that position would also have had the same thing. And so that relieved me because I knew that I hadn't been racist, and yet this attack was coming. So that's one scene that I'm remembering. And there have been lots of other scenes in terms of personal attacks, but you find a way around it. The one thing that you have to hold on to is that I'm Baba's child, and Baba has put me here, and it's not because of my desire that I'm holding a position. Baba has put me there.
Yeah. And then even the next question is, I think the two very powerful souls that left the body. I think Daddy Jayanti, you're so close with her, and even the departure of Didi Dr. Nimala. So the question is, do you feel any expectations from the Brahmins had on you in filling the gap or the role played by Dadi? No, you feel any expectation, any pressure? If there is, how do you manage those expectations and pressure from the Brahmin family?
When Didi passed away in 83, I went to India. I wasn't there in time for the cremation and whatever, but afterwards there were Bhog messages and so on. And I heard Dadiji share her experience because she said on the Gadi in the stage in Om Shanti Bhavan, just a few days after Didi's departure. So this is after Murli. And you know how Dadi would share everything that was in her heart. She didn't keep back anything. And she said, I know that many of you have said to me, and Madhubanavasis, double foreigners, if you were all there, I know that many of you have said to me, Dadi, are you now going to play the role of Didi and Dadi? And I have to tell you, no. Didi was Didi. Nobody can be Didi. And I am my own person. And I am as I am, as you know me, and I'm Baba's instrument. I'm not going to play Didi's role. I will continue to play the role that Baba has given me. So that's stuck in my head in a very positive way, that there can't ever be any expectation of somebody playing somebody else's role. And if there is that expectation, you can nip it in the bud. You can tell them straight out. And so actually it wasn't in 2007 after Dadiji left or later, but when Dadi Jayanti left London 2005, Dadi Kumarka was unwell. We were in Durban. We got a phone call, and Dadi Gulzar's on the line and saying, Baba has said Dadi has to come back now. And can you imagine? There were VIP guests. The call of time started Thursday evening, and Friday morning we're getting this call that Daddy has to leave now. And I'm saying to Daddy Jayanti, because I'm catching what's going on the phone, and I say, tell her you'll come on Monday. And Daddy hands me the phone. And I tell Daddy Gulsa, Daddy, the call of time, da, da, da. And she has one sentence to say. Baba has said Dadi has to come now. End of argument. And we knew that once Daddy got to India, she wasn't going to be leaving for long term. India was going to be her base from now. It was expected. And so back in London, and I'd left London with Daddy. Now I was coming back from Durban without Daddy. And they said to me, "Are you going to play Daddy's role?" And I quoted Daddy Kumar to them and the story of what Daddy had said. And so I told them, "No, can any one of you be Daddy? I can't be Daddy. But yes, we have to do it together." And so I actually said to them, we all have to step up. And it was a meeting of the core group. And that's actually how the core group started. And it's been going strong ever since. And it's a very good group, very talented, very loyal. So I had to just say, no, I'm not Daddy Jayanti, and I can't be Daddy Jayanti. So I haven't had to deal with that after that.
When you give a very inspiring class, I think last night on the topic on zero enthusiasm. Now there's another eternal question. I think most of us most of the centers have faced and told also I think around the world. The question is, so many Brahmins are now so addicted to Zoom online movie. So the question is there any particular realization? What do you think? Is there any particular realization that Brahmins should be aware that frequently on the Zoom line movie doesn't do them good in the long term spiritual progress? What do you think? Or how to inspire them to sort of kick away this addiction to the Zoom movie?
I think every center around the world is facing this. And one of the things we did during COVID times was that Thursday and Sunday, we prepared pork almost as usual. And there were 2-3 individuals in whose neighborhood many other Brahmins lived. And so what we did was prepare bhog packets, and one individual would take 25 at a time because he was in that neighborhood where there were many others, and others would take a few. And then there's also lots of Brahmins who live right on that same road in different housing places. So they would come and pick up their own bhog and whatever. And so we made sure we were sustaining them with phone calls. Different people looked after different people, and also with bhog. And so when COVID finished, they all wanted to come back, most of them. Then we realized that there were many who were not coming also, and they were now either old or they were not well. And so it wasn't easy to pick up on that habit of coming. But yes, there are some people who are now just simply lazy, basically, and they prefer to sit at home. But then we call them and we say, come have a cup of tea, come and meet us, come have a chat. And then once they're in Baba's house and they feel the vibrations of Baba's house, it revives them to a certain extent. And then we say, but why not every day? You used to come, so you can manage it then, you can manage it now. But I have to admit that many have aged since the days of coming every day. And many, for various health issues, they may be not so aged, but they've got health issues. I think that these two reasons are pretty strong. And so I think that everywhere it's an aging population. Usually here I'm seeing many young people, but certainly in Europe and also I think in the USA, it's an aging population. So there are reasons why they can't come. But invite them, call them for a special chat and a cup of tea or whatever it is. And I think keeping that level of friendship with Brahmin souls is important.
So in conjunction, what you're saying that a lot of old Brahmins or sickly Brahmins. So the next question is, how do we maintain, whether young or old Brahmins doesn't matter, how do we maintain an unshakable faith in myself, especially in settling one karmic accounts pertaining to sickness of body? Because sickness of body is very common nowadays. whether young or old, doesn't matter. So how do we maintain our faith, unshakable faith in your own self?
How do we
Because
maintain our faith?
yeah, unshakable faith. The faith should be unshakable, no matter what happens to the body.
I'll share with you how I maintain my own faith. I just have to remind myself of the meetings with Sakar Baba, the meetings with Avyakt Baba, and I know that many here would have had meetings with Avyakt Baba, because the meetings with Avyakt Baba went on through till 88, and then they stopped. Then after that, it was Drishti, but still, it wasn't the same. And so there's who've been Brahmins since before 88, 1988. Again, I'm just seeing a shyness because you see, there are people who raise their hands later on.
Before 88, General Benson, who came before 88, 1988, yeah? Before 1988.
So I just emerged those memories, and I remember the love, I remember the faith, I remember all those things, and it inspires me to keep going. And so I think that, and for those who haven't had that opportunity, but you've read the Avyakt Murlis, and even though you didn't meet Avyakt Bapdada one-to-one, but I'm sure most of you have been to Madhuban since before 2017. How many have come to Baba after 2017? So it's literally a handful. Most of the others have been to Madhuban. When you met Avyakt Bapdada personally, in terms of actually in person there, remember that feeling. Remember the power in the gathering. Remember how when Dadi Gulzar would speak, it would be so different. And I don't just mean the voice. I mean, her language was different. Avyakt Bapdada's language is different. So emerge all of those things in your hearts, in your minds, and you know that this is Baba. You know that Baba would speak what would be now described as 10 pages. And at the end of 10 pages, like the Murlis didn't finish in an hour. They would start at 7 o'clock, they would finish at 9 o'clock, around that time. And at the end of having spoken 10 pages of Gyan, 3 lines, Baba would give us a summary of all the points he had spoken. Today, any eloquent speaker, they'll keep notes in front of them. Maybe they don't need notes, maybe they know their subject so well, but you ask them to summarize, and different each time. Many speakers have the set lecture that they give, so I'm not talking about that, but different every time. And ask them to summarize at the end every major point that they've given, and it'll be a challenge for them. And Baba rolls it out. Point 1, point 2, point 3, point 4, point 5, point 6. The summary of the whole Murli. So just emerge those experiences. And that's not theory. That was your practical experience, except that our experiences sometimes disappear under a whole heap of other stuff. And so emerge those experiences, and it'll make you smile when you think of those experiences. And especially when the body is unwell, emerge them at that time. You know how Dadi Janki used to share lots of stories of Sakar Baba. You've all heard her classes and how she'd refer back to Sakar Baba and share memories. And when she shared those memories of the days of Karachi or the days of Abu, 60 years later, they're fresh in her mind. And she would give us that feeling as if we're there with her. And I asked her, Daddy, how come you're able to capture all of that and share it in the way that you do? And she said, and she'd had many, many illnesses from the time I knew her. There's always been illnesses that she's had to deal with. And she said that when I'm not well, I don't want to see the doctor. I don't want to take medicine. I know that rest is my cue. And so I'll turn my face to the wall and they'll think I'm sleeping. And yes, my eyes are closed. But what I'm doing at that time is emerging all the memories of my time with Baba. Karachi, Abu, Delhi, Bombay, Pune, wherever it is I was with Baba, I'll revise and review that reel that's there in my head. And it'll make me well. I'll be able to be detached from the body because I'm thinking of something so beautiful. And it'll help me deal with the pain and I'll become well. And so, same story. Keep those memories alive, emerge those memories, and really, even the videos that you've seen of Baba, and I saw it was only a handful who haven't met Baba in Madhuban. Just look at the videos and capture that feeling. Because certainly, even when you go to Madhuban now and you see those videos, especially for those sitting further at the back, it's as real as when Baba was there. And I think it's the same magic that happens with Brahma Baba's picture. When people put the picture, the translight in Baba's room, on that very first day, everybody felt as if we're in Baba's presence. Go to this part of the room, go to that part of the room, and it's like Baba's eyes follow you. And it's real. And it's some magic that happens, really. And the same thing with the video in Madhuban. You see the video, and the feeling that you get is it's Baba, that Baba's here. So look at those videos, go to Madhuban and see those videos, and the magic of Madhuban kicks in.
So it's just not really childhood memories, but our memories in Madhuban with the daddies and etc. Okay, Johnny, but the next question is it possible, probably may or may not happen, probably can you highlight some pressures or stress created by some Brahmins on the journey of self-progress or self-effort? Is it likely maybe some new Brahmins or whatever you can advise them that on this journey of self-progress or self-effort, sometimes they exert or created pressure on themselves or stress on themselves. It's not by others, by creating within themselves. So if that happens, then what is advice for them?
Yesterday, Baba said, just like Baba is merciful and benevolent, so you have to be the same. And the reality is that everything starts here. The way I treat myself is the way I treat others. Do you agree? Who agrees? Oh, now I am seeing hands go up. Thank you. But yes, I need to have that compassion and mercy for myself. And today's really about, faith was still a blessing, I think, that, the victory is fixed, absolutely fixed. And so last Kalpa, there was victory. This Kalpa, there'll be victory. But I just simply have to hold the hand of Srimad. That's it. I don't have to worry too much about anything else. What Baba has said, let me do that. And if I think, like, some people say I have to wake up at 2:00 in the morning and remember Baba. Well, Baba never said that. Baba told us, wake up for 4:00 or 3:00 at the earliest. Baba didn't say 2:00. And then there were a few Muralis that came a few months ago, and I noticed them because 1, 2, 3 Muralis in which Baba said, sleep is not a sin. Sleep is what the body needs for recovery. And yes, I know how much I need and make sure that you get that. And if you're not getting that, then your head's not going to work in the right way. And so you don't have to beat yourself up and say, I've got to get up at 2:00 in the morning. So be merciful on yourself.
So the other question, Jadi Ben, is I think when we listen to the movie, Baba talks so much of attainments through seva. You get high status, you have all the attainments, But I can remember, I think 2 months back or 1 month back, there was one Arabic movie, very touching movie, but was saying that Maya will also take opportunities to come in Seva. So one hand, Baba is telling us all the attainments, the reward, the opportunities of fortune. On the other hand, he says that Maya will take opportunities to come in Seva. So from your experience, you're so much involved in Seva for all these years. Can you mention in which particular way Maya especially comes when we do Seva? Or any caution on that area?
The situation with seva is that you can't do very much on your own. You need somebody to help you print leaflets. You need somebody to help you find a hall. You need somebody to help you cook for the tolis. And if you're alone and you have to do all of these things yourself, then by the time it comes to giving the lecture, then the lecture is not so fresh. And I've done all that. Early days London, there was nobody. So I did all of that, plus clean the hall before the program. So whatever you can do as a solo player is this much. You very quickly learn that service is only possible in cooperation with 2 others, 5 others, 10 others. And the bigger the service, the more souls it is. And the more souls it is, the more sanskars there are. And the biggest thing about service is that you have to learn to work with others. And if you can't work with others, drama sidelines you. And you have to then ask yourself the question, well, what's going on in terms of my own sanskars? How come I'm not able to work in a team? And so service is the mirror in which you can see to what extent I'm able to adjust and be flexible and work with others. Today, Baba gave us a very big pointer, and it was about the I that comes in service. And where Baba said, before the service, you're remembering Karan Karavanhar. After the service, you're remembering Karan Karavanhar. But when you're actually doing the service, are you remembering Karan Karavanhar at that time? That it's Baba who's doing it and is working through you? Or is it at that time that you say, well, because of my specialities, because of my qualities, this is why I'm able to do this service and not somebody else. Mm-hmm. So competition, jealousy, these things arise, conflict, that happens on the field of service. Ego, that happens on the field of service. So there's huge fortune, but these are the things that I have to deal with to be able to be an instrument.
Mm-hmm. The next question, Jenny Ben, is what advice you would give to the new ones, probably in this hall this morning, the many, many new ones, the new ones who haven't been to Madhuban, they haven't met the daddies at all, probably the most fortunate they have is meeting Jenny Ben this morning. So the question is for the new ones, what advice would you give them? Because they haven't experienced Madhuban, as you mentioned earlier, memories of Madhuban, memories of meeting up at Bapdada, they haven't met at all. And they are really, really honestly, they're making a lot of effort even when they come last. So what advice would you give them?
Prepare yourself for Madhuban, the 8 months disciplines. And when you get to Madhuban, let yourself just soak in the atmosphere of Madhuban and enjoy Madhuban. And that will give you a flavor of what Baba and the Dadis have created. And yes, you can get very close to each one of the Dadis, Dadi Prakashmani, Dadi Gulzar, Dadi Janki, by reading the books of their classes. There's a book that has Dadi Gulzar's classes. I think it's called Real Gold or something like that. Then there's Dadi Janki's books, many of them, but Companion of God is the first one. And it has brilliant summary of her classes, Dadi Prakashmani. Every year there's a new book printed with her classes on the 26th of August. So every year we get a little book. So you'll catch whatever it is the Dadis have given us. Many met the Dadis and thought, oh yeah, this is interesting, this is good. But they never actually thought of following and doing what the Dadis did. Just as with Sakar Baba, many met Sakar Baba, but they didn't follow in Baba's footsteps. It's today we are hearing how to follow in Baba's footsteps. Similarly with the Dadis, how many thousands and millions must have heard Dadi Janki, and how many decide to actually do what she did? I was sharing the story of the early days of Tennyson Road and Dadi's simplicity and Dadi's awareness of economy and eknami, the remembrance of one. Dadi didn't go to Madhuban for 4 years. And when she did finally go to Madhuban, Baba especially came to meet her. There was a special, but 4 years. And I would ask Baba, Baba, do you have a message for Dadi? And Baba would say, Dadi meets me every day at Amrit Vela. She didn't need an intermediary. I was actually just being cheeky, thinking it's a good excuse to say something to Baba. But Baba didn't take the bait. And Baba put me in my place. Baba talks to Dadi every day. And I'd ask Dadi in London, I'm going to Madhuban. Do you have a message for Baba? And she'd say no. So you can catch whatever the Dadis have given us and start doing what they did. And you can read about it from their classes. All of it is available. And not just classes in writing, but there's so much on YouTube now. It was like drama provided all the material because drama knew, and we were not wanting to know that the Dadis would lead before we would go. I really thought that the yajna cannot survive without the Dadis. And here we are years later, and we're still moving on. Services going on, services flourishing, the Brahmin family is increasing, the places are increasing. Nothing has stopped. It's God's work. It's not one person or many Dadis. None of that. It's God's work, God's yajna. And so you see it flourishing on all levels. And so just take advantage of Madhuban especially. Why I say that is because I noticed an interesting phenomenon from 2023. The first Zoom babies, those who took Gyan through Zoom, we call them Zoom babies. So the first Zoom babies from London came to Madhuban in 2023. They loved it. And when I'd sit with them, I'd ask them, what are you taking from Madhuban? They'd have a list of things to tell me. Not one of them missed the Dadis. And drama has this quirk in it. You only miss when you've had an experience of something. You know, if I've never eaten a mango, how am I going to miss a mango? I can't miss a mango. I've never eaten it. I know about apples and peaches, but I don't know about mango. But if I've had a mango, I am going to miss it. And so what that means is that those of us who had that time with the Dadis, on the one side, we miss that time, right? But we also know that it's a new era. And what we have to do is to follow in Baba's footsteps and the Daddy's footsteps to become like them. So although we miss, but we have work to do, so we keep going. But those who never met the Daddies, no problem. They love Madhuban just as it is. They'll go in front of the Tower of Peace and enjoy that. They'll enjoy the beauty of Gyan Sarovar. They enjoy the memorials in Shantivan, Dadi Gulzar's memorial, Dadi Janki's memorial. And not one of them says, I miss the Dadis. So go to Madhuban and capture what Madhuban can give you. A time is going to come, maybe in a year, 2 years, I don't know, when you won't be able to travel. That's also fixed in the drama, I know. And so while we can go to Madhuban, and I'm talking to the old ones as well as the new ones, definitely go to Madhuban and you'll capture all the things that Madhuban can give you. And yes, you'll feel a little twinge in your heart when you walk into Shakti Bhavan and Dadi's photograph is there and Dadi's not there. But you'll soon deal with that. It'll be okay.
So Jenny Ben desires all the Malaysians to go to Madhuban. Sooner the better. So we hope that this season, and we all agree this season, Malaysian party should be a big party to go to Madhuban. Yeah? Then the next question is,
Go in the best time to go is November, December, January. I know it's cold, well, at least December and January, but it's not crowded. October, February, March, it's crowded. And then there's a quota that we have to follow now, what to do, space.
yeah. Gentlemen, the next question is actually very much in the context of movies. You will be listening to practically every day. So the question is sometimes, you see, we can look at effort and time. Baba mentioned very, very much about the factor of time is a major factor in our spiritual effort. But sometimes we look at time in a very negative way, as if we want to make effort, but time is short, and Baba repeatedly reminds us again and again. So don't you think that sometimes we are too time conscious while making effort, and we feel the pressure within ourselves? So how to resolve this feeling that, well, time is short, I'm not making much effort, not enough effort, and Baba keep reminding me, so I will feel internally some pressure or stress. So how to resolve that situation?
If there's something I really want to do, then I'm so passionate about it. I want to do it now. I don't want to postpone it for tomorrow or the next day or the next day. And so treat spiritual effort in the same way, with that same passion. If there's something I need to change, let me not postpone it. Let me do what I can do about it today. And so if I treat it on a very personal level, not in the general level, Baba saying, yes, you have to be perfect and there's not enough time, that's artificial. But if I really feel that I want to change, and that's what Baba's talking about when Baba's saying effort, it's not anything artificial. I want to become Satupradhan. I want to become Karmatit. And if that's what I want to do, I will find a way to do it. And I won't feel its pressure because it's my passion. I want to do it. And so I think you have to change it away from just Baba telling me, do this, to what is it that I want? And when I want to change, you'll do it quickly. You won't wait for anything.
The next question is a very personal question, Jenny Ben. I think probably the family would like to know. How do you see your position, the status at the final end of the cycle? Are you amongst only two categories? Are you amongst the 8 or 108?
Well, the 8 is already full, so I don't think there's any space for anyone more there. 7 names are very clear and fixed. There's 1 seat that's still, there's a few candidates in terms of the dadis that could fulfill that, but certainly there's no space there. But yes, I do feel that victory is my birthright. And so where it fits within the rest of the hierarchy, I don't know. But I know that with Baba's help, yes, it's possible to have victory.
Probably we just have one last 2 questions, Jenny Ben. The question is now, sometimes, Baba talks a lot, but probably you are very well versed in this area. Sanskaras merge and emerging throughout the cycle. Can you probably elaborate a little bit about merging sanskara and emerging sanskara between the ages, for the 5 ages?
Think about the record, and it's an example that you heard from the first Murli that you listened to, whenever that was. The record, time is the needle, and as the needle moves and the record moves, so whatever is recorded is coming out. And so that example makes a lot of sense to me, because nowadays you have MP3s and all sorts of things, and you don't have those proper records that we used to have earlier on. But I think they're coming back in fashion again. But that image of the record is exactly that, emerging and merging. And that happens automatically. In Sangam Yug, it's not automatic. In Sangam Yug, it happens only through awareness. And Daddy used to say, start using your Satopradhan sanskars. If you don't do that, then your Tamopradhan sanskars will use you. I'm the master. I choose to emerge the Satopradhan sanskars. and I forget about soul consciousness, what creeps up again are the Tamopradhan sanskars. So this is why Baba is so emphatic about soul, 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 soul consciousness again and again and again. The seed of all ignorance is this, and this ignorance then leads to many mistakes, etc. So can I think about it like that? Now, at this time, I can choose. I have to make a conscious choice. And the more I emerge the deity sanskars, the more it's going to be a practicality in my life. And if I'm not aware, then they get merged and the others emerge. But I want to be able to emerge those Satupradhan sanskars to such an extent that there's no trace of the others that remain. They're there recorded in the soul, but they'll only come back after 5,000 years. And so I don't want to think about that now. I want to keep the Satupradhan sanskars emerge. So when I go home, that's what I'm carrying with myself, that purity. And then when I come down right at the start of the Golden Age, I don't have to think about it anymore. They are emerged, and that record will play.
Yeah, thank you. The last question, Jenny Ben, is probably what this couple of 1.5 days, we all of us, probably what piece of advice you can share to the Malaysian family? Any piece of advice in terms of effort or in terms of generally what advice you would or blessing will share with the Malaysian family?
I've been sharing how beautiful it is to see a multicultural gathering, multi-religious gathering. That's really, really lovely. And then for the future, I think that it's so important to just make sure that it's what Baba tells us very often nowadays, just to keep nothing but pure feelings and good wishes for others in my heart. And it sounds simple, but it takes a lot of cleaning because you discover traces of other feelings that are there that you'd sort of swept under the carpet. But now, in the process of cleaning, it comes up, it comes out. And so, can I really, really clean all of that out so that my behavior with everyone is of pure respect? Because I have nothing but good wishes and pure feelings for everyone. And I know this is not just for Malaysia because Baba's been talking about it to everybody for a long time now. How often have you heard Shubh Chintan, Shubh Chintak, good wishes, good pure feelings? But I feel that this is something that has to happen now. Why? Because when others see the Brahmin family, what they're seeing from outside is something that's very beautiful. But then when they sometimes step into the center, then they feel that we're not living up to that image that we had given them at the start. And then they begin to see a few sanskars here and interaction, which is not completely deity like. And with our behavior, we can either bring them closer to Baba, or they'll say, well, it's the same, it happens everywhere, and they'll turn and go away again and not come back. So our behavior and the atmosphere we create at the center is going to bring souls closer. And I don't mean just by the residents, I mean everyone who comes to the center. You're contributing to the atmosphere and what's happening there and the image that we're creating for those who come and who will be coming more and more in the future. So I think that maybe that's one thing that's personal effort, but it's also a contribution to the community and to Baba's service.
Okay, the last question. No answer, you don't have to reply, Jenny Ben. So my humble request, probably the brothers, sisters' humble request is the 32nd Asian retreat next year, correct? We hope you come back again. And when you come back again, probably this time it's the Asian crowd. So this year we're just having the Malaysian crowd, probably with all the blessings, especially your blessings. You don't have to answer. Probably the 32nd Asian retreat will be a bigger crowd in the Asian families here. Okay. So once again, we put our hands together, thanking Benjamin. Om Shanti.
Well, it's been a joy to be here and see the service, be part of the service, and meet the Malaysian family after a gap of some time. And thank you for the questions.